also a senior at Needham High. I'm an Asian American, 1/4 Korean, and 1/4 Chinese. Before living in the States, I lived overseas in Asia for 8 years, 3 years in Hong Kong, 6 years in Shanghai. It was until I moved to the States that I learned what stereotypes were. I quickly learned that because of my race, I was supposed to be good at math, or I was supposed to get straight A's. And as a 5th grader, I had no idea what my peers were saying around me, or if I was supposed to laugh along with them or let it pass me. Other names and slurs were passed around daily in my middle school as if it was normal, as if these minority groups were okay with being targeted. The worst part about all of this is that from 5th to 8th grade, I went along with these stereotypes, and it was almost I was normalizing them as well, despite knowing that they were wrong and untrue. It felt hard for me to speak up against these microaggressions because there were so many other kids who were jokingly throwing them around every single day. But the purpose of my speech isn't for me to keep listing all the stereotypes and instances where every other Asian American has probably gone through. The purpose is to see what has to change. Our education systems need to change, and they need to change tomorrow. There can't be any more excuses saying it will take forever to change our education system, or we don't have the power to change what we're teaching our students in the classroom. As long as there's a student, a classroom, and a teacher, there will always be room for topics revolving around equity and race. My whole idea is that we'll never truly grow out of our racist ways and thoughts if our systems today aren't torn down and rebuilt. That goes to our school systems, our government systems, and our police systems as well. This applies to all minorities and movements who have been targeted throughout history because of the corruption in the system. And if we don't want to normalize stereotypes, we must teach our younger generation why they're wrong. For example, at school, we barely scratch the surface of these topics that revolve around a rising systemic racism and how that still plays a role in our society today. The 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act, the Japanese internment camps, these topics were briefly mentioned as vocabulary at our school in history class. How can two major events that caused so much pain for so many Asian individuals be crammed together in a history syllabus as just another vocab term? I can only briefly remember 2 instances in my whole high school career that mentioned anything about the microaggressions and systemic racism toward Asian Americans. If we truly want to change the way for the future and stop all this anti-Asian hate, it has to start at the origin. It has to start by teaching our younger generation how all the microaggression, stereotypes, racist treaties, and acts created the hateful, twisted atmosphere that still makes many American Asians stay silent. It starts by changing our conversation in the classroom. By speaking out against microaggressions, by letting your peers around you understand why something they said made you uncomfortable, and making sure they understand why it's not okay to say racist jokes. By starting with these small acts, we can move forward as a community to help better the younger generations so we don't have more of this hate in the future. And these acts need to start today and tomorrow. Thank you.